Peace and Black Power family. It's Brother Ajay Taimba from Harlem Liberation School, where, as by now you all know, we teach Black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up, in the words of our legendary brother Malcolm X. I want to put a few things up very quickly to start this broadcast. This is the tick on the bottom is letting you know who we are, what we do, when we started Harlem Liberation School, that is. We're going to, at the top of this, ask people to humbly, don't just come and like the video and go home, tell everybody about it. Comment, like it, share it, and subscribe, family. The more you subscribe, the wider, the more tools we have to reach more people. This political education is the foundation. Me and Baba Carlito were just discussing the importance of the foundational power of education. It changes people's lives. Look at what it did to Malcolm, right? And so many people. All right. So please subscribe, share this food with other people. Food tastes better when you share it. So share this food. Also, we want to say very quickly, it is Black History Month. We celebrate it every day. We don't wait for just February. But please, a white man didn't make Black History Month in February. Carter G. Woodson put it in February, Negro History Week, to give honor to Frederick Douglass and to Abraham Lincoln for freeing the slaves. This is a fact, right? President Ford, Jimmy Carter did not make February Black History Month. We did, right? It wasn't because it's the shoulder's coldest month of the year. That is a myth. So we want to just destroy that, right? Thirdly, we are happy to announce, but it's bittersweet, that our brother Imam, oh man, I'm going to forget his Muslim name. He was formerly known as H. Rat Brown. He is finally receiving some degree of medical assistance, but we're not satisfied, family. We're not. It's not enough. It's too little. It's too late. I saw a picture, and Baba had a whole protruding growth coming out of his face. So we're not clapping, and we're not going to do backflips and have parades because they're doing what they were supposed to have done. Now we calling for free them all immediately. Release all these political prisoners, and don't forget prisoners of war from the dungeons of the United States. Free them. And people that should be in jail are running this country, but that's a whole nother story, ain't it? All right, family. That said, I have the privilege of bringing on a brother, a Baba, an elder who's not just an elder because he's old. He's not just older. He's an elder. He has wisdom. He has experience. He shares it freely. He wants to see his community and all communities live in peace and safety, with liberation and freedom. Baba Carlito Rovira, I met a few years ago with one of my Jegna's brother Richard Tanko, brought me to an event. They were celebrating I think it was the Ponce Massacre, and we were talking about Puerto Rican nationalism. I was like, whoa, this is right up my alley, Tanko. So that's why I brought you. It was beautiful. And this brother was speaking and dropping them jewels, man, and talking about self-determination and talking about being anti-imperialist. And I interviewed him, and there's actually a video I did featuring Baba Carlito on the channel. If you go through the channel and type his name, you'll see it. Today we're bringing him on because you're probably trying to wonder, well, it's Black History Month. Why are you talking about blacks and Puerto Ricans? I'm going to tell you why we're talking about blacks, because that's part of our history. That's part of our history. There was a time when we worked together, family. Not all of us, but we worked together. People were politicized. People were anti-war. People were anti-segregation. People were disgusted and disillusioned with the civil rights movement. It didn't produce everything that they promised it would. People were disillusioned. So some of those young people who were student activists and community activists were like, man, we got to do something else. And then Malcolm X is murdered. That sparked a lot of people. They wanted to finish what he didn't get to complete. So a lot was going on. And this brother, Carlito Rovira, was down with the original Young Lords organization. Not only that, he held several positions. And we're talking about he joined at 14 years old. Think of all the 14-year-olds in your family. I'm just real quick. What are they doing? What are they talking about? What interests them? Just think about what it takes to be 14 and join a revolutionary organization. That's just amazing. But it was a different time, right? And different things going on. We can get that back. We can cultivate that type of culture. It won't be identical, but we can cultivate that. This brother is not only a revolutionary, he's not only in the community, he's not only still doing community service, still involved with things. He's a fantastic revolutionary artist, a visual artist. His stuff is unbelievable. The thumbnail of this actual event today shows him painting a beautiful portrait of Brother Matulu, and he says, "I only paint revolutionaries." So that tells you where he's coming from. Without further ado, I want to bring our Baba on. I'm excited that he's here. We're gonna bring Baba Carlito. Peace, my brother. How are you, man?
Thank you, brother. I just want you to know that I'm very pleased and honored to be in this program, Harlem Education, and you know, I'm grateful that some of the words that you mentioned, you know, because the Black liberation struggle is very much embedded in the hearts of those that fight for Puerto Rican liberation. You cannot separate the history of the Puerto Rican struggle in the United States from the African-American Black liberation struggle. It's inseparable, and hopefully today I'll shed some light on what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir, man. You don't understand, man. I am happy right now. Just got off yesterday, reconnected one of my old friends for 30, 40 years, had him on. And just to have people like yourself and him that are valuable, that care about us. We ain't got to guess where your politics are. We ain't got to guess whose side you on. We ain't got to over-explain why we should move a certain way. You got it. And you're probably some of our best teachers by example. So I'm really excited to have you here, and I'm excited to have this discussion. What we're talking about, for those who don't know, I have on the screen the history and importance of, and I should say, Black Puerto Rican solidarity. I'm gonna change that before we get too far in the show. But before we start, Bob, I want to we got some comments. I want to get to that right now, and of course, we got my lovely chocolatey queen, Brenda, in the building. She's saying, "Welcome to our forum." Oh, hold on. She's saying Wakusu to the family. Baba, when we say Wakusu, it's an acronym of what Malcolm said. Wake up, clean up, stand up. Wakusu. That's our greeting. She says, thank you for joining us. Annette, I believe it's your cousin, Baba Carlito. She says, my cousin Carlito inspires me every day. That's all right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Bring honor to the family. The Queen is saying, if you haven't subscribed, those of you watching, please do so. We're going to get into it in a minute. She's welcoming Sister Annette, and she's giving gratitude for Baba Carlito being here with us today. And somebody asked, we're going to get into that. Somebody says, what does it take to attain Baba status? All right. Well, just generally, we're going to get this out the way. Just generally, Baba is a way of saying that's like Pop. That's a way of saying almost like a fatherly figure. It's a title of distinction given to people who earned it through respect, who care about their families and communities.
In right? Latin culture, it will be Don.
Don, like Don Pedro, right? Yeah. So I hope we made that clear. I didn't want to go too deep into it because we're on a certain topic today, and we're going to get started right now. We'll get out the comments. And we're going to go to I have some questions for you, Baba. Now, you joined the Young Lords organization at the age of 14. That in and of itself, for people today who don't understand that, particularly that Black power, Black arts movement, civil rights era history, they wouldn't be able to wrap their minds around it, because 14-year-olds we know are playing games, into sports and whatever they do, and girls, guys, whatever. So they were like, what? He was in the Young Lords? Like, yeah. What forces or influences would you say activated your political consciousness to the point where you would do something like join the Young Lords?
Well, thank you for asking that important question. I should also mention before I go on that the average age in the Young Lords, the average age was 17.
Mm.
I was considered the baby, but the average age in the Young Lords was 17 years old. What motivated me to join is interesting. I was going astray. I was messing with drugs. I was shoplifting. I was snatching purses. I was doing all kinds of things that I should not be doing. No one should be doing. No kid of 13, 14 years old should be doing. And they're really part of the psychological impact by oppression. I was mentored by the late Black Panther Party leader, Bob Collier, Robert Collier, but I knew him as Bob. He was one of the Panther 21, living in the Lower East Side, where I grew up. And Bob got to like me. He put me underneath his wing, and in 1968, he put me on a bus heading towards the Raza Unida conference in Denver, Colorado. The bus was filled with elements from the Puerto Rican community, including the well-known Iris Morales, who's an author today. Many of those people on that bus eventually joined the Young Lords when they came back. It was at the conference where I met Gorky Gonzalez, Cesar Chavez, big names, the Brown Berets, names of the Chicano-Mexican struggle. I also met, last but not least, Chacha Jimenez, the founder and leader of the Young Lords. When we came back to New York from that conference, it became a no-brainer for me that I wanted to be a Young Lord. So as soon as it became clear that a chapter was being organized in New York, I was one of the first people, one of the first 7 individuals to agree to join it in New York City. So really the Young Lords saved my life, and I was deeply grateful, because it was like skipping my later childhood and going straight into adulthood, because once I realized the nature and seriousness of revolutionary politics, it became a no-brainer that I had to grow up fast, and that's precisely what I did. And immediately after I joined, we started addressing the racist policies of the New York City sanitation department, and we used the garbage that they wouldn't collect on the regular basis in the hood, and we used it as we weaponized it basically, and started blocking the main arteries of traffic in Manhattan in order to get attention. Fifth Avenue, Madison, Park Avenue, Third Avenue, Lexington Avenue. It got blocked with garbage, and that's how we got the attention of the city. And they were forced to pull back from their racist policies in garbage pickup. And soon after that, they started picking up garbage every day the way they're supposed to be doing. But going back to why I joined the Young Lords, our people, our youth, I should say, black and brown, we're trained from a young age that we are worthless, that we have no purpose in life. And I was one of the fortunate ones who had that reversed. and immediately once I joined the Young Lords, and thanks to Brother Bob Collier, I was able to see that I had a mission in life. I was able to see that I and my people and our allies, the African Americans, we were destined to throw down with a big fight, to a decisive one, for the liberation. And it's when I started understanding, what it meant to embrace Black and Latino solidarity.
Yeah. All right. Now, another thing, Bob, a lot of times I hear these interviews people do with people, and they're very kind of superficial. And I want people watching to really understand what kind of creates or shapes Carlito Rovira. What shaped him? So I think my next question will be, if you could describe what your house and your household, what your neighborhood was like growing up in New York, and where you grew up in New York City, so people can understand what was going on from your point of view.
Well, I would have to ask people that asked me that question, have they seen the West Side Story? With Rita Moreno, I want to be in America. All of the glorifications in musical form of the Puerto Rican migration. Well, the original, the real West Side Story was a very violent one. It was customary for Puerto Rican families to be attacked by Jewish and Italian gangs. That's right. So I know firsthand what racist violence is, because Puerto Rican families lived under the constant threat of racist violence. We did not speak English. We did not understand the psychology of this land. And so, it was the welcoming that Puerto Ricans got for being different was a very tragic one. It was a violent one. I remember, growing up in the Lower East Side, there were, quite a few kids that I had to beat up. Okay. In response to their racist little, innuendos. Okay. So if you want to know what it was like, my mother and father always told me, come home before it gets dark. You never know what was going to happen. I grew up in the Lower East Side in the housing projects, the Lillian housing projects, when in Alphabet City, when Alphabet City was Puerto Rican. Today is like gentrified with all kinds of, white trash. Okay. They go there to get drunk every Saturday and Friday nights, and disrespect the people of color that once, comprised something like 75% of the Lower East Side. So that was the setting that I grew up in, and the ones that used to look out for me whenever I was being picked on, if they were not Puerto Rican, they were African American kids. So we got tight, and I started dancing Motown before I started dancing salsa. Okay, we used to date. I used to date black girls just like I did with Puerto Rican girls, and vice versa. It was that kind of intertwined cultural experience. The African American people had just finished the Great Migration from the southern states, the Great Migration to escape the terror, the racist terror of the Ku Klux Klan. Well, just as African Americans were ending their Great Migration, we were beginning ours. Okay, from colonial oppression. In the 1950s and 60s, the U.S. colonial presence in Puerto Rico intensified. They had expelled you know, 63,000 people a year from Puerto Rico. Now, why was that? And it was because 14% of the land was staked out for the U.S. military. Puerto Rico happens to be the largest concentration of U.S. military bases. Okay, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. It is also the headquarters of the U.S. Southern Command. That is the reason why, like I mentioned, 63,000 Puerto Ricans used to migrate to New York City and New Jersey every year. And by the early 1970s, half of the Puerto Rican nation was forcibly uprooted from Puerto Rico, and my family was one of the families that was victimized in that way. And so once we came here, the acculturation that we experienced was that with Black people. Politically, I like to also mention that I used to open the door every Saturday morning because the Nation of Islam, under Malcolm X's leadership, was trying to politicize the Puerto Rican community, the Puerto Rican immigrants. And my parents did not speak English, so I used to be the one to talk to them because they would knock on the door and they would try to politicize the Puerto Rican community with their newspaper, The Final Call. And I used to talk to them. And they would talk to my mother through me, you know. So I did not recognize it back then, but I do embrace, and for all eternity, I will be grateful to how Malcolm X directed the Nation of Islam cadres to go and politicize the Puerto Rican community, just as they would in the Black community. You know?
That's deep.
It became easy. It became easy a few years later, or not so many years later, when the Black Panther Party did the same thing. You know, and it explains why is it that I embraced the Young Lords, knowing the relationship that the Young Lords had with the Black Panther Party. In the Lower East Side, I used to open up a free breakfast program, and I used to share the responsibility with a Black Panther Party sister named Shirley. Okay. Because I was in the Harlem chapter, but we were opening up an office in the Lower East Side, and it became a no-brainer for people to send me to open up this free breakfast program that we were jointly, administering with the Black Panther Party. Free breakfast programs were being administered with the Black Panther Party, most of which were throughout the city and in New Jersey. Young Lords and Black Panthers would carry out the task of free breakfast programs, and we would bring the message of solidarity to the kids that would come, Black and Puerto Rican kids.
Bob, I'm sorry to interrupt. If I may ask you, from what you think, from where you sit, why do you think that Brother Malcolm, through the Nation or the Black Panther Party, spent time and energy politicizing the Puerto Rican population? What do you think their motivation was?
Well, they knew our history better than some of us did. You know, African chattel slavery also existed in Puerto Rico. To highlight that point, many of the Southern slave owners did not go to Africa to get slaves. They went to Cuba and Puerto Rico. Okay, where the market for slaves was huge. The Spaniards used to bring them to those two islands, and from there, the Southern slaveocracy didn't have much to travel. Okay, to import slaves into the American South. So our history, our culture. I mean, we dance bomba en plena. Bomba en plena has its roots in the Ivory Coast. Okay, we our spiritual beliefs, our santerismo, which comes from the Yorubas. Okay, and it was the Yorubas who were the enslaved people in Puerto Rico. So when you talk about the affinities, the political affinities that the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam had in the Puerto Rican community, well, it didn't begin with the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam. It goes back to W.E.B. Du Bois. W.E.B. Du Bois launched demonstrations when the U.S. invaded Puerto Rico and Cuba. And let's not forget our honorable Marcus Garvey.
Yes, sir.
Marcus Garvey traveled to Puerto Rico to meet with our iconic leader, Don Pedro Albizu Campos. And it was all because Don Pedro Albizu Campos was trying to get to Ireland at the start of the Irish Revolution. And he was traveling through the South. And because Don Pedro was also Black, I mean, I may look light-skinned, but I got African blood running through my veins. Every Puerto Rican has African blood running through their veins because that's the history of Puerto Rico. When Don Pedro experienced the Jim Crow abuses in the South, traveling through the South, he became outspoken about, and I quote, the racism in the house of the empire. Those words traveled to the ears of Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey said, I got to meet this guy. I got to meet this guy, because then Marcus Garvey started doing some inquiry of his own and saw that, Pedro Albizu Campos was admired by the Sinn Féin, the Irish revolutionaries. Because it was Pedro Albizu Campos who wrote the draft for the Constitution of a Free Ireland. That's right. Whenever you look at the Constitution of Ireland, there's Puerto Rican hands on that. Marcus Garvey got to hear about this because Marcus Garvey was also a friend of the Irish Republican struggle. Marcus Garvey made it a point in 1925 to travel to Puerto Rico to sit down for about a week. They had meetings with some of the elements in the Nationalist Party. Pedro Albizu Campos was not yet the leader of the Nationalist Party, but Pedro Albizu Campos won the respect of Marcus Garvey. Keep in mind, being openly opposed to white supremacy and Jim Crow policies in those years was not a popular and wise thing to do. You were either hunted down by the Klan and killed or whatever. The mainstream would shun you, etc. Pedro Albizu Campos was very outspoken, and that's why he was persecuted. Let's not forget Paul Robeson. You know what Paul Robeson used to do? In many of his performances, he would ask for a moment of silence for the incarcerated Puerto Rican revolutionary Pedro Albizu Campos. Now you talk about deep. That to me is deep, where you raise the colonial question by asking for a moment of silence for a Puerto Rican revolutionary. Keep in mind that you have a singing and acting career, and you can easily be so shunned and removed from your career opportunities just for condemning the U.S. colonial presence in Puerto Rico. I mean, I can go on and on and on to to show
Barbara, I gotta ask you this. I'm sorry, because if I don't ask you, I'm gonna lose this. So we have. I'm not gonna dignify a few comments that I think are disrespectful, but I am gonna allude to them. And it seems that some of the brothers and sisters who are nationalists, like myself, I'm nationalist and Pan-Africanist. Some people feel like, well, black people can't trust nobody. We shouldn't be aligning with these Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, and we don't get along, and they just working for themselves. And how do you respond to that as a person who was a bona fide revolutionary and still is, who was out on them streets, boots on the ground, in all types of different capacities? How do you respond to that?
Well, the way I respond to it is, first of all, I'm very sorry you feel like that. Okay. And all that it requires is for you to do the research.
Boom.
And inquire of certain points in history where there was collaboration between Black and Puerto Rican / Latino revolutionaries. The Rainbow Coalition that the Black Panther Party created with the Brown Berets and with the Young Lords, that did not come out of the sky. And it's not as if it wasn't merited. It came about because of the necessity. The other thing that I have to say in response to that is, continue believing that if you want white supremacy to win at the end, because it is that a conviction, it's an erroneous belief that the rulers want us to embrace. All peoples, there's absurdities, from erroneous views. There's absurdities amongst all peoples. I mean, I lived in Louisiana, in New Orleans, and I was shocked when I saw light-skinned blacks living separately from dark-skinned blacks. And they would tell their children, don't play with those children there because they're too dark. I actually saw that in Louisiana. They call Possum Blanc. And if white supremacy is able to create that kind of thinking amongst Black people, I can imagine what extent they would do with other non-Black racial compositions, people of non-Black racial compositions, because the oppressors, they work overtime to keep us divided. Okay. And if you just focus on the negatives, because I'm not going to say that there is no anti-Black ideas in the Latino community. Okay. I have seen family members myself with expressing anti-Black views, okay, such as pelo bueno y pelo malo, good hair and bad hair. It's an experience that Arturo Schomburg went through, being a Black Puerto Rican, okay?
That Schomburg is in the Schomburg Library in Harlem,
exactly.
By the way.
And Arturo Schomburg, who became the archivist of African American and all Black history and culture, he happened to be Puerto Rican. Hello. So of course, there is anti-Black sentiments amongst Latino people. We live in a world where white supremacy is the ideology of imperialism. It is the ideology. And even the most innocent are impacted by that ideology. It's like a sweet smelling poison. And I have to add that some of the anti-Black sentiments are in the end just as much anti-Latino sentiments as well, because you cannot be You cannot be anti-Black and then be pro-Latino. There's no such animal. Okay, you're either against both, and in favor of white supremacy, endorsing white supremacy, or you're not. It's that plain. Okay, and
Yes, sir. And
again,
also, if I could add, Baba, I'm sorry. Those of us who are Pan-African, the core idea of that is that there's an African diaspora, and that anyone that is not continental African, that's descended, is part of that diaspora. So that includes, right in that definition, the people that we might classify today as Latino, right? So if you're Pan-African and you're taking this position, that's quite reactionary, and it's actually, you're not Pan-African. I don't know any better way to say that.
here's my hand. My hand cannot be strong if it only has 3 fingers. Okay? This is stronger than this. It's that simple. 5 is stronger than 3. It's simple mathematics. We need each other. Okay? Whether or not you recognize it, history proves that where there is unity, there is strength.
That's right. Now, as I mentioned, Pan-Africanism, as you see it, what do you see that Africa is important? In other words, from what you know, Baba, is there a significant Puerto Rican population that says, yeah, we identify with Mother Africa, we identify with what we call Puerto Rico, but we also have identified with Africa? It has meaning. Do you have that sentiment? Or do you pick up that sentiment?
It's newly developed. And when I say newly developed, I say within since the 1950s and 60s. But that is a phenomenon that's universal. Okay. During the time of slavery and into the middle of the 20th century, Blackness did not have the glory in people's minds as it does today. Okay. There is a lot of pride now for the African expressions in Puerto Rican culture. For example, Puerto Rican foods, pasteles, mofongo. Those are African dishes. Okay, those are African dishes, believe it or not. Salsa music, bomba music, plena music. That is African roots. And it's been in recent decades, I would say from the 1950s onward, that people started identifying that with Blackness, with Africanism. Okay. But it was because of the education and the work of the Black Panther Party and the Young Lords. The Young Lords were instrumental in reestablishing the Africanism in Puerto Rican and Latino culture.
For those who don't know Baba Carlito, could you bring us up to speed on let's talk a little bit about the Young Lords specifically. When it started, what your political platform was, or your ideology, what you were fighting for those who don't know.
Well, the Young Lords began as a street gang in Chicago. It developed in the prisons and on the streets by brothers from the hood. And like most cliques, they were gangbangers. Chicago is known for street gangs. Okay. It was thanks to the collaboration between Jose Chacha Jimenez and Black Panther leader Fred Hampton that the young lords were able to transcend from a street organization into a revolutionary political party. The young lords in New York, we went a little step further. Unfortunately, there was a split. However, because I do not like to dwell on the negatives in our history, we can discuss that much later. But the Young Lords Party developed a set of rules, 25 rules of discipline. It had a military discipline. It had a paramilitary structure, organizational structure. We had ministries, and the ministries were led by a minister in education, in finance, in defense, and so on. We had ranks of captain, lieutenant, section leader, and so on. We also had a 13-point program and platform, which went about as saying, we want liberation for all oppressed people. And there were, points that included independence for Puerto Rico, independence for all oppressed people, the right to community control and land, the right to our Afro-Taino education and culture, the right to armed self-defense, etc. And last but not least, we called for a socialist society. We did not feel that the liberation of any oppressed people, whether it be black, brown, yellow, or green, it would be impossible if it was done on the capitalist basis. It had to be socialistic or not. So that was really the foundation, the premise, the political premise of the Young Lords.
So it's safe to say that there was some alignment, and structurally speaking, and ideologically speaking, with the Black Panther Party, similar in structure, correct?
I would say that politically we were intertwined.
Right.
We were the only two organizations where a member can transfer from one entity to another without having to go through the usual protocols of recruitment. If you were a full cadre in the Young Lords and you wanted to join the Black Panther Party, there was one sister who's well known to many, and that is Sister Cleo Silvers. She was a member of the Black Panther Party and joined the Young Lords without having to go through the standard protocols of recruitment. There were also members in the Young Lords who felt that they can function better as members of the Black Panther Party. That also happened, without the protocols of recruitment.
Okay. Now, I also is hoping, because it's Black History Month, and sometimes people think that means talk about Black trivia. Who was the first Black nurse? Who was the first Black? And at Harlem Liberation School, Baba, we try to get a little deeper than that with the history. So we understand that Black history involves other groups of people, right? Not just Black people, right? So with that said, tell us a little bit more about Don Pedro Albizu Campos. If I walk for 5 minutes from my house right now, we walk right past the school, and then after that brother. And a lot of us don't know about him and his seriousness, how he came to America and studied and all these things. Tell us a little bit about him as well, so we can learn something about him.
Well, his mother was Black. She was the descendant of African slaves in Puerto Rico. And Pedro Albizu Campos, because of his Blackness, he during World War I, he was in the military, and he didn't go into the so-called Puerto Rican military units. He went into the black units. He was a lieutenant, a first lieutenant in the all-black, in an all-black infantry company. And he knew firsthand. In when he studied in Harvard University as the first Puerto Rican to graduate with the highest honors. He met a lot of racism there, so he understood. He didn't have to be lectured about the plight of African Americans, because he experienced it himself, and as I mentioned before, his outspokenness about anti-black prejudices, it won the attention. It gained the attention of Marcus Garvey, and it became the reasoning why Marcus Garvey chose to travel to Puerto Rico to meet him. So
that says a lot. I've heard him referred to as the Puerto Rican Malcolm X.
I would say the yes, he in many ways, like Malcolm X, he was a revolutionary nationalist, and he embraced any doctrine that was favorable to the independence of Puerto Rico. Just like Malcolm X, Malcolm X united. You talk about some of the viewers who don't think that there's a connection between Puerto Ricans and African Americans. Well, it wasn't just Marcus Garvey that recognized the Puerto Rican struggle. Malcolm X was uniting. One of the virtues that came out of his trip to Mecca was that he saw Muslims of all colors. And when he came back to the United States, he said to himself, black people we cannot fight alone. We have to form alliances, for a number of reasons. I can give a simple mathematical reasoning, where there's unity, there is strength, especially in the United States. Mm-hmm. So there's ample evidence that throughout history that African Americans always gravitated to uniting. Let me give you one significant example that this always mind-boggling to me. There was a corporal named Fabian in the U.S. Army, and he was sent to the Philippines in 1900. And anybody who knows this history of the invasion of Puerto Rico, Cuba, Guam, and the Philippines know that when they went into those countries, they didn't go there to hang out. They went in there to colonize and to brutalize. And one of the things that a lot of the black soldiers in the Philippines resented was the white officers referring to Filipinos by the N-word, because it was reminiscent to the way black people were treated in the South and throughout the United States. Well, in the Philippines was the highest number of soldiers who defected, black soldiers who defected to the guerrilla army of the Filipino revolutionaries. Brother Fabian, Corporal Fabian, he won the respect of the Filipino guerrillas so much that he was made a comandante, a commander in their liberation army.
And this is a black soldier.
Yes.
Sent to the Philippines to cause hell and destruction.
Yes, that's right. And there were many. Mm-hmm. There were many black soldiers in the Philippines that defected to the side of the Filipino guerrillas. But Fabian was the one with the qualities of a general, okay, and he won the respect of the Filipino people and got made a commander in their army. So for anyone who starts telling me that black people got no business fighting alongside with others, hello, read your history first before you say something that's so wrong.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Baba. One time, when I was in grad school, I was the head of the student organization. We brought Brother Kwame Ture and Mukasa Willie Ricks to do a student conference and to speak and do some workshops. And one of the things that Kwame Ture told us in trying to help us understand why your generation seemed to be so more politicized than revolutionary and fearless in some ways. He said it was one of the things was that you got information that generation read. The way that today we might be, yo, you heard that mixtape, you heard that battle, you heard what Kendrick Lamar said to Drake. Your generation, he was saying, was getting shortwave radios, and they were listening to programs in other countries and reading Wretched of the Earth and all these different books. Could you give us a sense of some of your reading, books that might be on a young lord's reading list, Black Panthers in that time?
I should mention, along with that I was illiterate. I did not know how to read and write. And I learned how to read and write in the young lords. And the way academic studies were enlightening me, and it was with the Red Book, it was with the Wretched of the Earth, it was with the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, it was with Lenin's Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism, it was with the speeches of Amilcar Cabral, Patrice Lumumba. It was, man, now you're going to start making me cry, because it was thanks to those revolutionaries, reading about those revolutionaries, that I was able to survive. And I should also mention that the political education classes were mandatory. That was not optional. You want to be a young lord? You want to be a member of the Black Panther Party? The classes were mandatory. Just as mandatory as any other rules in the 25 rules of discipline of the young lords. You had to be at the educations. We were serious. We were serious about education, because no movement, no successful revolutionary struggle accomplishes its goals with anger alone. Anger is good, but you should know about your past, present, and future, because once you do that study, you will not be going around saying that we don't need unity between Puerto Ricans and Black people. Do that study first, and then you will see that our entire spectrum of struggle, not just for Blacks and Puerto Ricans, but the entire spectrum of struggle, of liberation struggle for any oppressed people, has been carried out with education. If you do not educate yourself, then you might as well hang it up. If you're going to, dismiss it, belittle it, and think that it's not necessary. Malcolm X was from the streets. He was a pimp. He was a drug dealer. Okay? He used to do all kinds of whacked out shit, probably making my stuff look like peanuts. Okay? He was a true gangster. Okay? Even Bumpy Johnson and him were friends. Okay? He was gangster. And look what happened. He went to prison. Somebody gave him a dictionary, a Webster dictionary, and our dear Prince memorized every word in Webster's dictionary. Not only did he memorize it, he developed a sense of how to use each and every word from A to Z. So don't tell me that education is not necessary, because even the most downtrodden that never went to school, they became revolutionaries.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I think it's so important, that part of, I think some people think that revolutionary means you go out with guns and you just start shooting shit and burning burning shit down. And they don't understand them people, Fidel, I don't care, Thomas Sankara, Don Pedro Albizu Campos, Lolita LeBron, Young Lords, Black Panther. Them people are reading, man. Them people are reading. They do what they got to do on that other level, but they're reading. They're in the community, giving food, serving food, and building freedom schools. Help us understand, Baba, beyond the rhetoric, what some of the stuff y'all were doing.
The rulers, white supremacy, they don't mind us having guns. They don't. They do not mind filling up the ghettos with guns. Okay? They're the ones that bring it in. We don't have the planes and the infrastructures to funnel the black and brown communities of this country with weapons. I'll tell you which is the weapon that they fear the most. When they see black and brown people educating themselves. Why do you think that they want to eliminate Black and Latino studies throughout all of the public schools and universities in this country? Critical race theory is on their scopes for elimination. Why do you think that? It's not because they don't like Black and brown history. It's because Black and brown history can tell you a lot, that we are a people of struggle. Look in Arizona. If you think I'm kidding you, in Arizona, they banned Chicano studies. And I'll tell you what was the logic. The logic was that Chicano studies, Mexican-American studies, was promoting violence against white people. So if they thought that about Mexican Americans, imagine what they would think about Black studies.
Right.
Which is filled with many episodes of uprisings.
That's right. That's right. You Bob, you dropping them jewels today.
They
That's
want
for
us
sure.
Forgive me for being so blunt, but they want us to be stupid. They want to keep us stupid. Okay, and that's why that's their biggest fear. They don't mind us carrying guns around, because chances are that we're going to use it on each other. Okay, the weapons that they fear us having is knowledge.
I would definitely correct anyone who knows Harlem Liberation School or me. They're gonna tell you, "Oh, Bob, you saying this? IJ say that all the time," but it's real. It's real talk. Now, Bob, I want to pivot. You told us something about you growing up, something about the Young Lords, a little bit about the music that you like. You said you like some of the Motown and different things, and that there was this cultural sort of diffusion with Blacks and Puerto Ricans. Some of your art.
Don't forget old school jazz, brother.
Old school jazz.
Don't forget old school jazz, because Latin jazz and boogaloo came out of somewhere, came out of a certain influence.
Talk to us about that.
Well, a lot of people wonder, what about salsa? Salsa, was not born in Puerto Rico. It was born here in the hood, okay, in the cellars of East Harlem, in the Lower East Side. That's where salsa was born, and it was attributed to the sounds of Izzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, and then there was this thing known as Latin jazz. Okay, then came the boogaloo era, which was really influenced by bebop, by the sound of Harlem in the 40s and 50s, bebop. Okay, a lot of that contributed to the development of Boogaloo, which was the predecessor of salsa today. And then you had the greats like Johnny Pacheco, like Tito Puente, who always gave credit to African American musicians. Okay, and let's not forget another factor. Percussions were taken away from enslaved African people in the United States, African Americans. No percussions, because white folks did not feel safe when they heard the sounds of drums. So they forbid African enslaved people to play drums. It was removed. It was zilch, nada, taken away. At the turn of the century and into the period of the Harlem Renaissance, many of the original vintage jazz musicians, they went to Puerto Rico and to Cuba to recruit percussionists, because percussions was actually taken away. And if you notice in the black church, it was clapping served as the percussion, and it was for that reason that percussions were forcibly removed from the cultural experience of black people in the United States. But after emancipation, they explored a return of percussions by visiting some of the musicians visiting the islands where the diaspora was at. And two of those diasporas was Puerto Rico and Cuba.
See, some of y'all tuned in. Like, why are we talking about this for Black history? Look at all the Black history you getting in this. We're talking about Puerto Rican and Black solidarity, but look at all the history. Garvey is coming in this conversation. Black Panthers is all up in this conversation. Africa, music, culture, so I want us, family, when you come here, you're going to get nationalism, Pan-Africanism, all that, revolutionary, but broaden your thinking. One of the things, Baba, I noticed from and I say my parents' generation is that they understood that we had revolutions and uprisings here in the United States, that we didn't necessarily win our liberation, so to speak, but we're in the process. So they wisely studied people who did. It makes sense. So they're looking at what's going on in Algiers. They're looking at what's going on in South Africa. They're looking at what's going on in Mozambique, all these different places, Cuba. What do you think about this idea that we can't just study our history within the confines of the United States? What do you think about that, though?
Well, first and foremost, the Black struggle in the United States has been exemplary and inspiring to the Black struggle in Africa and elsewhere. Okay, it was the Haitian struggle, the Haitian struggle for liberation, influenced the struggle in the United States. And it was the victory, the anti-slavery victory in the United States, that inspired both the Grito de Yara, anti-slavery revolt in Cuba, and the Grito de Lares, the anti-slavery revolt in Puerto Rico. African Americans, the African American struggle is like it's underneath the microscope in every Black nation, throughout the world, and through every liberation struggle throughout the world. Marcus Garvey, he created a legacy, not just for himself, but for the struggles of Black people. that is recognized and respected, and continues to be an inspiration to every liberation struggle around the world. Ho Chi Minh of Vietnam, the Vietnamese leader, he lived in Harlem. A lot of people don't know this. Ho Chi Minh, the Vietnamese revolutionary, lived in Harlem and went to Marcus Garvey's Liberty Hall lectures. Fidel Castro, whenever he came to New York City, he where do you want to stay? He wants to stay in Harlem. Okay, and it's because of the affinities that the African American struggle has created, not just to my beloved the Puerto Rican struggle, but it has created a certain kind of inspiration in all of Africa, and that is something for African American revolutionaries to feel very proud of.
That's an interesting point, Baba Carlito. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on what this brother Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso? Do you think that he may have been influenced by some of what we've been talking about today, some of these struggles?
Well, immediately I would have to say that he was influenced by Thomas Sankara because of the Red Beret. But right now, any struggle that puts a lid, that hinders the ability of imperialism to encroach, is something that we have to support. It most definitely has to be supported. No matter how minimal, it doesn't have to be calling overtly for socialism. It doesn't have to be labeled as revolutionary or whatever. Right now, any struggle, especially in Africa, is revolutionary, because Africa has been the most plundered and the most exploited and the most disrespected region in the world throughout history. It is where African slaves were kidnapped from. The riches of Africa has been stolen to make the capitalist manufacturing possible, including the weaponry of the Pentagon. I can go on. So there's no doubt in my mind. That the struggles in Africa, every revolutionary, regardless of what your agenda is, you have to pay attention to what's happening in the continent. Because if Africa decided to create a United States of Africa, free of the IMF and all imperialism, you will see the international capitalist system crumble and facilitate revolution everywhere. Let's not forget what happened in Portugal in the 1970s. The liberation struggle in Central Africa. Okay, it put a stop to fascism in Portugal. Okay, so my point is that Africa is holding a trump card. The other people, that's right, it's holding a trump card. But what is also just as important, equally important for us to understand, is that the African American struggle here in the United States is also a trump card. Historically, all progressive struggles in labor, the creation of labor unions, there was Black influence.
Pardon me, Baba Khalid. I'm gonna put up a beautiful message from my queen, which I completely endorse. To the people that are trolling, this comes out to you. We are focused on unity, not anything that creates division or distractions here, family. That's for all of the trolls. You know, we don't hate on you. You know, we hope that you will get this revolutionary fervor and you'll come on to the right side of the team, realize that you know, we can troll, we could be internet gangsters, but what we need are warriors and thinkers and healers and builders and educators. That's what we need. This wasting time doing this is not cool, family. Thank you, Queen, for that beautiful contribution there. But Baba Carlito, we are coming upon running out of time. I wanted to ask you, pivoting a lot with this question. When I met you and interviewed you and you said you're an artist, I was like, really? I was already like in awe, like you was a young lord, like, wow, okay. And then you said, yeah, brother, I did this mural. I'm looking at this whole huge wall. I'm like, you did that? He's like, wow. I was like, wow. I don't know if people know that you're really a phenomenal visual artist. Could you tell us how you got into art? Did you use art as part of your organizing? And what do you think is the power of art? Because sometimes we forget, we think it's all about speaking and writing, but art is very important in terms of organizing and activism as well.
Well, I learned art in prison. There was this man who came in on 30-day, 60-day charges of vagrancy, and everybody thought he was a dummy, but I knew he was a genius, and he taught me how to do portraitures. I was an artist already, but portraitures, which is you know, a very high level in the arts, it attracted me because when we talk about heroes, we're talking about the history from which those heroes rose up from. And I, over the years, I've been doing portraitures for like, 45, 50 years. And it attracted me for that reason, because everything is political and the arts are also political. And instead of painting trees, apples, and oranges, I decided to paint revolutionaries. That's what I paint, revolutionaries. And it was my way. It was my way of getting back at the people who incarcerated me by using what I learned in prison against that system.
Who are some of the people, the heroes and heroes that you've painted, Baba Carlito? I know you got Mutulu Shakur. I saw Ida B. Wells,
Malcolm X, Pedro Albizu Campos, Marcus Garvey, Assata Shakur. I can go on down the line. Huey P. Newton, Fred Hampton. Oh my God, I can go on down the line. A lot of revolutionaries of different nationalities, including Yuri Kochiyama, a Japanese American woman who was close. Okay, again, about solidarity. She was Japanese American and she was a confidant of Malcolm X. She was the Japanese sister when Malcolm X was shot. She was one of the people who tried to resuscitate him. And I painted her. I've painted so many. Patrice Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral. I can name names here. I've been doing portraitures all my life. And
now what do you do? Do you ever sell those pieces, or how do you once you make them? I'm asking, what do you do with the art? Do you display it for exhibits and stuff?
Yes, I'm having an exhibit coming this April, and it will be at Piragua Art Space in the Lower East Side, in the hood that I was born in and grew up at. And there'll be quite a large number of my work there. Now, what do I do with the proceeds? I donated to the struggles. I have done exhibits for the work to free Mumia Abu Jamal, to get the U.S. Navy out of Vieques, as an effort, a fundraising effort to buy a building in the Bronx that houses the Nationalist Party of Puerto Rico. It's a boxing gym, that they use to get the kids off the streets and teach them.
That's where I met you.
Yes, that's where you met me. So all of my art exhibits is I use the money to continue buying art supplies because damn, they're so expensive.
Yeah, they are expensive. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And you got to be rich to be an artist, but I people donate stuff to me, and etc. But that's what I use the proceeds from. I use my art to fight. It is my weapon, one of my weapons, politically and also financially. I donate my services to the struggle. That's what I feel satisfied doing. So I rather work at flipping hamburgers in Burger King than to be putting my art out there commercially for it to become part of the whirlpool of the poison that they intoxicate our people with. No, I want to use my art for a revolutionary purpose, and it is why I paint people who will not get the grandeur of as revolutionaries that they deserve by a system that exploits and plunders.
That's all right. That's righteous right there. I'm feeling that, Baba. Appreciate your integrity. That's a word that is not as prevalent these days, but we need the integrity. I'm hoping, Baba, that you will send me when we finish this, when you have time, that you will text me that information for your art exhibit.
Yes,
Harlem Liberation School wants to be there. We're gonna try to be there. Maybe we could cover some of it, and get some people to come out and spend some money and support the art.
The flyer will be out this week, so I will definitely make sure that you receive it. Again, we need to use culture to our advantage, since it is used to screw the minds of our people. We need to reverse that and use art, use all of culture, whether you're a dancer, a poet, or whatever it is, and use it as a weapon in the liberation struggle.
That's right. Absolutely with you on that, Baba. Before we leave, we've covered a lot of bases. Is there anything that you didn't say that maybe I didn't ask you a question to evoke something that you wanted to say? Anything?
My deepest praises for Liberation School. Please keep up this work that you do on the internet with these videos, because the way the Trump administration is planning on doing it. They want to eliminate education everywhere. And we have to raise the dignity of Black history by raising the dignity of the Black liberation struggle. So please keep up this work that you do, and whatever services that I can render, don't feel shy to ask.
Sante Sana for that, Baba. Myself, the Queen, and all those affiliated with us are deeply moved by that. Coming from you, that means a lot. And we thank you for your time, and we hope this will not be the last time that we kicking it with you. So I'm just and I want to say something about you to the people watching. This is a Baba. He calls me up when, I don't know if you remember this, maybe a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. Say, hey, this is a Carlito Rovira. Listen, I like what you're doing with the Harlem Liberation School. If you ever need me to come on and talk, call me, man. Do you remember that?
I think I do. At this age, you can forget a lot of things.
just calls up like, hey, you know what I could do to help? and educate. Let me do that. See, that's the spirit that it's not always about who's the greatest orator. You have to speak as well as Malcolm, have read every book in the library. If people are sincere and have integrity and love people and want people to be free, you'd be surprised what we can accomplish, people.
That's right.
Be surprised what we can do. Just be honest, want the best for your people, hate oppression, not necessarily people, hate oppression, and want to do something about it. There's a million lanes. Baba Carlito, what are some of the roles you played in the Young Lords again?
I was lieutenant in the defense ministry, and my job was to protect the organization and our people from internal and external enemies.
All right, we're not gonna get all into that, but we know that meant, you know, that Baba Carlito had to bring that. Y'all know what I mean? He had to be ready to bring that. He said protection, right? And we're not just talking about prayer. Yeah, I assume. That's right. Okay. And he's an artist. And when I met you, you were dropping them those verbal bombs. So he's an orator too, an educator. And
I love my people. I love my people. And I will do whatever necessary for their liberation. But when I say my people, I include the African American people. Bob Collier, who saved my life, he was African American. He was a Black Panther. You know, the ones that reared and helped transcend the Young Lords was the Black Panther Party. You know, those gentlemen from the Nation of Islam that knocked on my door that were using me to translate for my mother and father, they had our interests at heart. So when I say my people, I also mean the African American people. Don't be fooled by my light skin. Okay, I am Black.
You know, Bob, before we leave, something I found amazing is that just in you organically telling your story and experiences, you're countering a lot of the anti-Black Latino solidarity narrative, because you say you follow Garvey. You just told us Garvey traveled all the way to Puerto Rico and spent a whole week building with Don Pedro Albizu Campos, right? So all this, you talk about how the Nation of Islam through Malcolm and the Black Panther Party. So if people are really listening and not coming with like this really rigid way of thinking, but really listening, then they're going to see organically that a lot of what they believe is not correct. Malcolm said history is best qualified, of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. If you want to know something, study. Ask elders, oral history, study, read, look at the art, listen to the music of the time, the poetry of the time, and get a sense. But don't go through life thinking something that's just not right just because you were taught that. You know, we have to broaden our minds, family. This is the weapon right here. I think Baba Carlito said that. Use that weapon. Use the weapon. Baba Carlito, thank you.
Absolutely, brother.
Thank you so much for coming through and bringing some very important information. We're going to stay in touch. Those of you watching, watch this again. Share this video. Teach people. Black people, you got problems with the Puerto Ricans, Latinos in the community, and you say some of them don't know what you know, educate them. He just told you what Malcolm did. He didn't sit back and say, oh, the Puerto Ricans and this and that. He politicized them. If you see a group in your community of color, politicize them.
I got some problems with some Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, just like I got some problems with some Black folks.
You know?
Like we act like we all conscious. We got problems too. Yes, sir. So educate. If you see people are not where they should be to be maximally effective in our liberation struggle, you politicize them, educate them. Don't let them just be that way. That's kind of whack. Because all of us, somebody educated all of us. Right? We were lost, but now we're found, so to speak. Somebody helped us to get on the right path. Baba Carlito just gave a whole presentation talking about different people who got him right. So we have to kind of, if you say that you're for liberation, all this, part of it is you got to help other people, man. You got to extend yourself to people who get on your last nerve too. You're not just the people you like. There's going to be people that sometimes you want to put them in a chokehold. But those will be the people, if you get through to them, those will be the ones that's going to be some of your baddest revolutionaries, man. That's a fact. The knuckleheads will trick you sometimes when they get knowledge yourself. Woo, forget about it. Well, with that said, family, Baba Carlito, thank you, man. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
I'm going to stay in touch. We're going to get the information about the art exhibit. We'll pass it to the people.
Yes.
And maybe we can even come cover some of it, do like a live thing or whatever, get some people out.
I would like you to address the audience. That's because I turn these art exhibits into political events, and it would be good for you to speak of the Liberation School and the importance of education, because it will be in line and in harmony with what I'm trying to do with my art.
Excellent. Dev, we will be there. If we can, as long as we can be there, we will be there. That's a fact. So listen, family, you know what we're going to say. Share the video, subscribe if you haven't, like it, and put your respectful comments on the channel. But more importantly, believe that we can win. Believe we have the right to be free. Believe we have the right to love ourselves unconditionally and to pour that love into our people and to raise them up if they're not where they should be based on their ability. And if we do that and we study and we organize, I don't care what Trump is doing, what Project 2025 is doing. 3 words: we will win, family. That's a fact. It's inevitable. With that said, peace and Black power. Power to the people.
Black power.
Viva la revolution. I can't roll them R's like you do, Bob.
La revolución.
You said Carlito, you be rolling that. Oh, I can't do that. Right? And free the land. To my Republican New African brothers, free the land. Family, have a beautiful day. Let's enjoy the rest of Black History Month. And let's, after February, let's keep enjoying Black History Year. Peace and Black power, family.